and to bring you your fix of everything related to the Montreal Canadiens. Two men who could seriously use an intervention. Your source of Habs talk, right from the rock. Right from the rock.
Hello, Canada, hockey fans, United States, and Newfoundland.
Hockey Junkie and GK.
Boom.
There it is.
Welcome to season 2, episode number 20 of the Fix podcast. My name is Matt, also known as Hockey Junkie, and joining me today is Gary. Gary, I got a question. Is that a dartboard or a frisbee behind you?
It's a dartboard, big guy.
Of course it's not a frisbee. It's
Of course it is a dartboard.
stupid question. I figured I'd start off with a stupid question.
In Habs red.
In Habs red, yeah. Gotta
Yeah.
love it. So
Actually.
what you been up to, man? Long time no see.
Oh, man. The summer is just such a shit show, I think is the best way to describe it. You know,
Yeah, it's crazy.
kids,
Man.
soccer, softball. You know, that's about it. Swimming.
Swimming? You know how to
Well,
swim?
not me. Yeah, I can swim.
I can dabble.
Can you dabble?
I dabble a bit, yeah.
You're a dabbler.
I'm a dabbler. I can't do much
Where I
more
grew
than
up-
that, though, not gonna lie.
What?
I can't do much more than that, though, not gonna lie.
No. In Plate Cove, where I grew up, yes, it's plate like you eat off of Plate Cove. It's like outdoor pool, and that's all we do all day long is swim.
That's wicked, though.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
It's like a down here town. I mean, we've been getting good weather, man. Like,
Yeah, it's
it's
been
been
really
pretty
nice.
good. We only get like 6 weeks of summer a year, so
Yeah, give or take.
yeah, give or take. Some years are worse, some years are better. But man,
You
it
still managed
feels
to
like
make
I don't know.
Beautiful
if you, but-
complexion.
yeah, I've been so busy, man. Like I feel like I'm even out of the loop. I don't know about you, but like
Oh.
this is crazy.
Well, I follow you to stay in the loop, so if you're at the
Well,
loop.
you're way out of the loop, man. You're way out of the loop, buddy.
Oh man, but man, like some good places to stay in the loop. Mark Dumont always has some good content. You know, Habs. There's a bunch of like Habs sites that keep us in the loop. A couple of draft guys who do some recaps. A couple of prospect guys who do some recaps. So there's some good links out there.
Oh,
I always make reference on my Twitter, GK Hockey Talk, if anyone's looking forward to like these guys who are kind of who keep it at it in the summertime and keep you informed. So have a look.
Habs Digest too. On
Habs
YouTube,
Digest
man,
is really good guy too. Yeah.
Crushing it, man. Crushing it.
Yeah, he's doing good. He's keeping focused in the summertime. He doesn't have we got 5 kids between us. He doesn't have any of that stuff. He's Goss is
5
doing all
kids, a dozen more on the way.
right. Something I don't know.
No. Jeez. I don't think so.
You better hope not.
Oh man, that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy talk. So Gary, thoughts on the off season so far, buddy? What do we got going on? We it's a good time to change the topic here. We got a few signings to talk about. First up, the Arber Xhekaj signing. How do you feel about that one?
Well, I mean, I think that goes without saying, man. The Arber Xhekaj. How do we talk about? We talk about Arber Xhekaj. We love Arber Xhekaj
Oh yeah.
because we're fanboys on him. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
there's a lot to love about him. He's he's big, he's physical, he does everything that you want him to do, and he makes a difference. He's easy to like, and he plays that rough, tumble, old school game that we talk about that we like him for sure. There's a lot of fans out there who like that, and he does all those things. But on top of that, if you look at his underlying numbers last season, whether it was when he played Laval or when he came out and played Montreal, his underlying numbers were solid. He played solid defensively. So you got a guy who's big, is strong. He brings an element that nobody else brings to the Montreal Canadiens or to a lot of rosters in the NHL, especially in the Eastern Conference, who can also play hockey and has those good underlying numbers to say, listen, I deserve to be here based on my hockey merit alone, but I can also kick the shit out of anybody in the Eastern Conference and make sure that no one fucks with our guys, especially our, sub 6 foot guys like Cole Caulfield, maybe Lane Hutson, and maybe this year, maybe halfway through this year. And he makes a difference. And at the end of the day, he's entertaining. He's big, he's strong, he can play hockey, he's young, he fits our core, and we got him locked up for another few years, and I love it.
Sensible contract too, like pretty good cap hit. And I mean, it also gives him a couple of years to prove himself a little more. Like, you know what I mean? Like, gives him a couple of years to try and stay healthy, stay into the lineup. And like you said, man,
Absolutely.
just what a beast of a guy. Everybody's 6'6", 290 pounds when well, maybe not 290, but 260 when he's in the lineup. Like, everybody's feeling a little bit bigger.
Depends on what you have for lunch.
Depends on what you had, man. Bologna sandwiches and shit like that to get the job done most of the time. But Lane Hutson, though, like that's a hot topic right away, man. Because I don't know if he's going to make the NHL this year or not. There's a lot of people that seem to think that he's going to make it right out of camp. We always talk about the cramped blue line that the Canadiens are going to have. And I mean, already this offseason, there's him and there's Logan Mailloux. I even seen people talk about David Reinbacher making it out of camp now.
Yeah.
I feel like that's an easy out. You know what I mean? You could play him in Laval, give him top minutes down there and let him develop, let him marinate nicely. But Logan Mailloux and Lane Hutson, two big question marks. And they just signed Justin Barron, and they also signed Kaiden Guhle. So you're probably going to see Barron maybe start in the NHL. I mean, I don't think his job is guaranteed, but who knows?
Who knows? Not waiver exempt anymore.
No, so it's going to be tricky
for Barron. So, and like the Montreal Canadiens blue line is super tricky because if you look at, all right, so we moved on from Honda Civic. And I mean, just the memes alone, like just losing those memes alone is heartbreaking. You know,
don't remind me.
So Jonathan Kovacevic is gone, and I think, I mean, for as far as a waiver pickup goes, he did more than anyone could expect him to do. You know, outside of maybe Paul Byron, one of the better waiver pickups we've ever had. Maybe Samuel Montembeault, who's also a waiver pickup, but you know what I mean. Like, he came in. And I think moving away from him at this time was the easy decision to make to like, it's like a pressure release valve, right? Just lets a little bit of pressure off, but definitely not enough. And then when you look at all the other defensemen we just got coming up through, it's for Montreal this upcoming season, it's going to be a matter of this. All right. Logan Mailloux could very easily come into camp, and so could Lane Hutson, and be in the best 6 defensemen. Probably will be in the best 6 defensemen. And then you got to look at yourself and say, do we throw everything else out the window and say, if you're the best 6 defensemen, we're going to play you in our top 6 and we're not going to pay any attention to anything else, which there's some merit behind that. There's some things saying, that if you earn your spot, you should get your spot. From a cultural perspective, there's arguments to be made there. But the other side of it is from an organizational standpoint, from a contractual standpoint, is that the best move to make? We don't need to be. If this season if we played those guys, we would make the playoffs and make a run, and it would be no question. But even with those guys in the lineup, even playing the best they can play, I don't think we're a playoff team. So that changes the landscape. So then do you say, well, I need to play Justin Barron. I need to play Jordan Harris. I need to play Arber Xhekaj. I need to play Drayden Struble. So those guys can show what they can do. And if we are going to move away from those guys, we're going to build their value as high as we can before we move away from those guys. Plus, we're going to give those other guys like Mailloux, like Hutson, some time to marinate in the AHL, that never really hurts anybody. Like, you don't look back and say, boy, that guy played too many games in the AHL. That's the problem with his development. He played too many games in the minor leagues. That very rarely happens. Yeah. Saying he came up too early happens, but even with these guys, I don't think they will come up too early. I think they could do it, but is that best for the organization and best for the plan long term? I don't know. What do you think?
Man, first thing I got to say is, like, you freaked me out there when you were naming out defensemen. I don't know why, but I forgot Jordan Harris existed again. It happens. And even Jaden Struble, like, I don't even think about him anymore because I always think, like, maybe Lane Hutson can make the lineup. But, geez, then you start tossing all these names out, and you always forget one, at least one, because there's so many. Like, you're always going to forget one. Yeah, man, it's weird, ain't it? But, like, in my mind, Jordan Harris he's already gone, but he's not. He's still there, and I don't know if he is going to be gone. I don't know who's going to be gone, but someone's going to be gone. Like, it's got to happen to someone.
I tell you though, like there is a bit of a shift, right? So like for me, the urgency of moving one of those guys was higher, and making sure I got a return for one of those guys was really high because I felt like those guys were going to be part of a move, a deal to bring in a legitimate guy who could play in our top six as a forward. A legitimate offensive piece that this organization was missing and had been missing for a decade or more. Drafting Ivan Demidov, which was beautiful. We did it. We live streamed it. It was amazing.
It was wicked.
It fills, maybe not to 100%. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to put too much pressure on Ivan Demidov, but that elite goal scoring, that elite offensive talent that we didn't have in our organization and didn't have in our system, we do have now. Could we use a little bit more of it? 100%. Who couldn't? But the urgency to move away from one of these legitimate top six defensemen, which Harris is, I think, like he's not a top pairing defenseman, but he's definitely an NHL defenseman. And a lot of these guys we mentioned, Struble, Barron, they all are. The urgency to make sure we maximize that return and make sure we get something that can contribute offensively, that urgency has diminished slightly because of Ivan Demidov.
Yeah.
Now, it's still there, but it has kind of rolled back for me. Like, to me, they had to make that right move. They had to turn some of this defensive depth into offensive prowess, into offensive power. That is still something I think they should do, but it's not such a pressing need. And if you had to take a loss on one of these guys, because at the end of the day, somebody's going to move out. Like, they're not going to hold value if we don't play them in the NHL. Unless they put up amazing numbers in the AHL. Like, if you don't give them the opportunity, it's not going to be there. And there's only so many opportunities. And if you look through the list of defensemen, it is extensive.
Yeah, it is. I can see him still, flipping one for a forward. But at the same time, too, another aspect of it is, we've seen it last year. We've seen it the year before. There's still a chance that, like, between training camp and the end of preseason. Do you like Kool-Aid jammers? You ever try a Kool-Aid jammer?
I have.
Those like straws that sometimes you just like crumple up when you're trying to poke them in the hole? You see what I'm getting at, right? Well, it's like I don't think so. Defenseman. Like, I could see one of the boys just crumpling, man, like one of them little straws. Like, and then all of a sudden you need a defenseman. You need a straw.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Now, luckily, the Canadiens got like a big container of straws in the cupboard.
Some plastic, even.
Yeah. But you see what I'm getting at, though.
100%. Yeah, and you are 100% right.
Yeah, one of these guys get injured, and it changes everything.
It does. But with the depth right now in the Montreal, in the prospect pool, anyways, and none of that's 100%. Like, we talked about Nikita Sherbak a million times, right? Like,
yeah.
When Sherbak came into the system, he was it. I remember Sherbak and, like, Sven Andrighetto at the same time. Like, thinking, oh, my God, these guys are maybe going to come in and make a difference. And looking back at it, it's just like, come on, right? Come on. But, like, on defense right now, we got a bunch of guys who are, even if we're overhyping some of these defensive prospects. And
no, come on, Gary.
No, literally, I don't think we are. Like, I think we overhyped Mattias Norlander.
Okay, but maybe a bit.
Maybe. And maybe, my hopes for Adam Enstrom, who's coming out of, coming out of the SHL. Maybe he's not going to be. Maybe Bogdan Knyzhnikov is not going to be what we think he's going to be. But, like, there's a lot of people out there who think that they are going to be that, but maybe they're not. But at the end of the day, we don't need that one guy to hit. We got 3 strikes on every one of these guys.
Yeah,
so we only need one of them to be what we think they're going to be. And
it's fun, though.
It's still kind of flushes out our defensive core. So I don't know. At the end of the day, I think we do need to still move away from some defensemen, and we do need to maximize the return on that. But right now, like, I was very opposed to another Alex Newhook deal or another Kirby Dach deal. I like both of those players, but I didn't think they were players who would move the needle offensively. Like, not elite talent, right? Like, top 6 talent, sure, but not elite talent. Right now, after adding Demidov, adding another guy like Alex Newhook or Kirby Dach is more appealing to me. And maybe I'm being a little bit, fluffy. I don't know. But what do you think?
Nah, I don't know, man. Like, I was already expecting a trade to be made.
Me too.
To be completely honest. Yeah, especially by now, right?
But I lost beer to you because it didn't happen, I believe.
You did, yeah. And
I did, yeah.
They tasted great too.
But you're welcome.
But like one more top 6 forward would be just like creme de la creme heading into the season.
100%.
It would, not gonna lie. Because I don't know if you noticed, but like, yeah, I do expect them to be a better team this year. But every time I look at the Habs lineup right now, and I'm trying to make my own lineup heading into next season, there's a hole missing. There's always 1 or 2 guys that, like, just
playing above their pay grade.
Yeah, they're playing above their pay grade, and it feels like you're missing someone, and you're not. They're just not there.
Absolutely. All right, let's do a little exercise right now, and we did ask for some questions from our fan base, and we were going to address them, and it's like 2 months later almost now before we got to it, or a month later before we got to it because we were so busy. But one of the questions I know was project the lineup, and I don't want to go through the full lineup, but let's predict the top 6. What's your top 6? Harvey Pinard's injured. Outside of that, what's your top 6 to start next season?
See, and it's tough because a top 6 guy is what I consider missing. Like, you know what I mean? But
I know, but based on our roster right today, who we have under contract, top 6.
All right, I'm going to go with Nick Suzuki between Caulfield and Slafkovsky. That's your first line right there. Showed great
100%.
chemistry last season. I don't think it's a good idea to break him up.
I
felt like even Suzuki and Caulfield were playing their best hockey with Slafkovsky just because kid knew how to use his size, man. He was digging pucks out. He was like a golden retriever out there. Just friggin'
He was.
He was, yeah. He was doing a really good
something
job.
was missing from that line when he wasn't there.
Yeah, like even, they used to try Josh Anderson there. It wasn't the same. I don't care what anyone says. Slafkovsky really, he really took that line to the next level, in my opinion. And, there's also, you can even talk about maybe putting him on the second line to even it out a little more, but I don't think it's a good idea. So that's going to be my first line.
Mm-hmm.
Second line is going to be Kirby Dach playing center because that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
And I want to see him between Alex Newhook and Joshua Wawa. That's my top 6 right there. But you know what? Like, I don't know if it's necessarily a good idea to have 2 left wingers, to have 2 left shooting guys on the swing. Like, you know what I mean? It's weird.
Wow. You just ruined the whole thing because, like, that's my top 6.
No, really?
Yeah, like that's 100% my top 6. Yeah. All right. Regardless of position, I think Watt earned his spot in the top 6. I don't think anyone else did. I think, given what he did last year, what he showed he can do on every level he's ever played, he deserves that chance next season. And I think Marty St. Louis is the kind of coach to reward it and give it to him. I think, while Newhook, I think, played well up the middle, I want him in my top 6, and I don't think he bumps right now with the roster the way it is. I want him in the top 6. I don't think he bumps Kirby Dach to the wing. I think it's the other way around, and I don't think he moves down. So, yeah, I 100%, like, I had it written down here. I won't show you, but it is written down here. My poor childlike handwriting. That's my top 6. So yeah, I can't even disagree with you. And I for all the reasons you stated, I think that's the right decision.
What about your bottom 6?
All right, we'll go there since we are agreeing 100% on that. My bottom 6, even though I think Jake Evans is deserves it maybe more. I think you give the third line center to Christian Dvorak, and I think you give Gallagher, who had a decent end to the last season, and you give him a little shining light there on the third line and let him say, listen, earn your contract and maybe some penalty killing time, but here's your third line role. And Mario Armia, man, I think on the other side, and just let them have it.
That'd be pretty neat.
What do you think?
A Mario Armia line.
Do we disagree on that one?
Man, I'd almost put Josh Anderson on there, but at the same time, like I get the Mario Armia proposal. He's going to be a UFA too. Like you're just, you know what I mean? You're building up his stock a little bit. Same with Christian Dvorak. But I think Josh Anderson is going to play in the top 9 somewhere. I wouldn't even. Now, this is going to freak people out. All right, I'm about to go crazy here now. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
If Josh Anderson is playing in the top 6 game 1 of the regular season.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with the decision, but that decision wouldn't surprise me.
Imagine Dach, Wawa, and Anderson on the second line. And then you got Newhook, Dvorak, and maybe Armia or Galley. Probably Galley on the third line. And then Evans, 100%. Armia, and Pez Dispenser on the fourth line.
Yeah, we're not even considering someone making it out of like Owen Beck, Emil Heineman, Sean Farrell. Like there's a million guys who could just like
spin Edrigato.
comes back. Yeah. And a couple of guys who they signed, like they signed a guy. They traded for a guy, didn't they? A French guy.
Yeah, that Poulet guy. Poulet. I like calling him Poulet. We can just call him Chicken.
Maybe we will.
Yeah, there you go, Poulet.
That's what we do here on the Fix Podcast. But there's a bunch of kind of options outside of that we haven't even considered. But like, yeah, either way, the Josh Anderson thing is, I mean, last season, as the season went on, you and I and everyone else, rightfully so, I think, completely wrote off Josh Anderson.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a no-brainer. It was just he could not score. You back?
Yeah, I bailed on you there for a second. Sorry about that.
You know what I mean? He just couldn't. He couldn't generate. He couldn't shake whatever was going on with him. He couldn't shake it. But he's only 1 year removed from being a better hockey player than that. And he's not super old. You know, it's not like he's too old to do it anymore. That's not the case. So for me, it's like he hasn't earned it yet.
No.
If he comes into camp and looks like he's going to earn it, align with Dach and Anderson together, about 6 foot 6'3" plus. You know, Anderson, Dach, and Joshua Wawa on the other side. That looks really good.
It does, yeah.
From how it's supposed to look, he's supposed to produce. But at the end of the day, he didn't produce that way last season. He didn't quite produce that way the season before. And unless he shows that he can do it, you know, where do you put him in the lineup? I don't know. You know, he's got another 3 seasons on that contract.
A lot of it depends on camp and how he shows up. But the crazy thing is, like during the preseason last year, if you go back to my Twitter, fair enough, man, you'd have to dig. But last season, like right before last season, I made a comment on Twitter and I said that Josh Anderson looked like one of the best forwards out there during the preseason. And it got a lot of likes. Yeah. And everybody was agreeing with it. And then all of a sudden, bam. As soon as the season started, it was just like a light switch went off. And he turned into this big steaming pile. Yeah, but it was bad. He couldn't get nothing going anymore. I felt kind of bad for him. You know what I mean? He was everybody's whipping boy all season long, myself included. I whipped on him too. Yeah. But now I'm at this point where I'm thinking, and I feel like there's more of a chance that Josh Anderson walks into next season and does better than he did last season than repeats the same performance.
He's got to do better.
Yeah, he's going to be better. I don't care. Yeah. You can, yeah, you're good. But you know something though, like he missed a lot of prime opportunities last year that normally he wouldn't miss on, like breakaways. And how many times was he right in the slot and ring one off the bar or just miss it or it looked terrible.
There was a lot of times last year when Josh Anderson was playing really good hockey and wasn't getting rewarded for it.
Yeah.
And that was overshadowed by sometimes when he wasn't playing good hockey and still wasn't getting rewarded for it. But like I found like Slafkovsky, for instance, at the beginning of last season, the numbers weren't there, but you could look at his game and say it's coming. Like you see it's coming.
Yeah.
And then it did. And it really did, and it did in a big way. And then his game even evolved further, and he moved beyond that and produced. And it was like, like you could see it all along that it was going to happen. And there was times when Josh Anderson played hockey and he scored that one goal, maybe. I think there was one time I bet that he wouldn't score. No, I bet he would score, and he did. And then he never scored again for like 15 games. But at that time, you could see it. You could see it coming. You could see his work ethic was better, and he was putting himself in the position to score. And then he would have this chance that was golden, and he was just whiff it that much, like by a millimeter, and it would miss. And then you see his confidence fade again. And it was hard to watch. So I think the game is there for Josh Anderson. You don't forget how to play hockey. The size there, skating is there. There's everything there. The finish, I think, is between his ears. And if he can figure that out, I don't know if he needs to get a new psychologist or a new stick or a new friggin', I don't know what, a new visor, maybe tint that shit out. I don't know what he's got to do. But if he can figure it out, that brings Montreal's top six up a little bit more. Like when you talk about, I had a buddy come from Alberta, best buddy, Christopher Barker. Love you, buddy. He looked at me, big time Habs fan, and said, why is Montreal going to be better next season? Tell me like 2 reasons why Montreal's going to be better next season.
Yeah.
And I told him like 6 reasons, but Josh Anderson being better for one would be, I mean, like that elevates
reason number 11.
Yeah, it does. It is though, really.
Yeah.
What do you say to people when they look at you and say, all right, hockey junkie, you're a beautiful man. You know the Habs better than anyone. Why is Montreal Canadiens going to be better next season with their stagnant offseason, which is relatively speaking, if you don't count the draft? How are they going to be better next season? What do you say?
I keep being like, holy shit, is that Mel Gibson? And nobody looks like, good. Just run away the other direction. Sorry, gonna go. No, man. I usually tell people one of the big reasons for me is that all the young core is 1 year older. They all got like just naturally they're going to be better. They're going to have more experience. They develop for another year at camp, another year together. And I mean, they're all gaining chemistry. Everything's starting to fall into place. I feel like that's going to be one big reason right away. And I don't know. The biggest one is injuries. There's no way that they can be injured that much again next season. And if they are, it's time to do something crazy. And this is a perfect time to bring in the first question of the day, man. It's from C-Dog. He said, I was wondering if you could do some kind of seance or something to help Kirby Dach stay healthy for next season. So, Gary, you brought candles, didn't you?
I bought like a light.
Didn't you make a Ouija board or something?
I do Reiki. That's it.
Yeah, there you go. We'll do something, man. But it's crazy, though. Kirby Dach, poor Kirby, man.
I know.
Every season. I mean, if he's healthy for 82 games alone, that's a massive difference. For one, the Canadiens don't have Ivan Demidov all of a sudden. I don't think so. I think Dach is worth points in the standings.
Everything happens for a reason, man.
Yeah, and next season, if he's healthy for an entire season, that's going to make a big difference. Just him alone, make a big difference.
Yeah, well, if you look at health, that was one of my arguments too. Like health alone, Kirby Dach being the major factor there, but like Alex Newhook missed time, Jake Evans missed time, Jesus, Gallagher missed time. No, did Gallagher miss time? Maybe not a lot, but
Gallagher always misses time.
It was a safe bet until I said it. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
But like, you know, Evans, not Drew who's the
Oh,
other?
God, don't
Newhook.
bring that up.
Newhook missed time. So, yeah, Newhook, Evans, and Dach all missed time. All arguably centermen. So you got out of 5 centermen in the organization, 3 of them missed significant time last year. That's a big thing for me. The core taking a jump forward is a big thing. I think an obvious thing for me. The goaltending situation being, whether it's better or worse, it's more consistent. And Montembeault and Primo all improved their numbers last season.
Yeah.
That was kind of overshadowed by, the controversy and Jake Allen being there and all that stuff. So take Jake Allen away and let them kind of go. I think that solidifies, and I think the numbers kind of level out to a higher level than they were last season. So that's another thing. Everyone getting better is another thing. The defensive core, especially having an extra year. I mean, that's a super young defensive core to me. That kind of takes a progress and that moves forward. And that's a big thing. Slafkovsky, another year on the young guys, like you said, that's a big thing. Guys like Owen Beck, guys like Joshua Waugh coming into the system and claiming their role. A bounce back season for a full season for Gallagher, a bounce back season for Josh Anderson, a full bounce back season for Joel Amaria, man, who spent a portion of the season in AHL and then came back and actually looked like he could play in the NHL for the season.
You can thank me for
Arber
that
Xhekaj. Yeah, that's all you. It's all you.
That was on me. Oh yeah.
So there's a million reasons for them to be better next year. So yeah, that would be my answer to that question, and that's what I told him, and he was like, "I still don't think they're going to be any better."
All right, so Mike Bishop is asking, "Hey Matt, do you think Mailloux has a chance of cracking the lineup, and what do you think the chances are of us finally getting rid of Justin Barron?" I think there's a good chance that Mailloux outplays Barron during the preseason. I don't know, man. It's a safe bet. A lot of people don't want to, they don't want to believe it. But I mean, you look at the season Logan Mailloux had last year for the Laval Rocket, and geez, just incredible offensively. He picked up on his D game. He was playing a lot better at his own end of the rink. Like I said, I went to a game and just the way he was with the fans. Like, he was the last guy off the ice, tossing pucks over to the kids. It seemed like they were, it was good. Everybody was liking it. And
that makes a difference.
It does, man. It does. He's a likable character. And I wouldn't be shocked if he does outplay Barron, and I wouldn't be shocked if he makes the lineup. Maybe even, the first few games of the regular season, just until they see what happens or whatever. But as for Justin Barron, I don't think he's going anywhere. Not right now, anyway. I don't think so. What about you?
Yeah, to me, I mean, I don't have. It's not a matter of disliking Justin Barron. I like Justin Barron. I think he brings a lot to the game. I think he has stuff he still needs to work on in his game. Especially his defensive zone play and his reaction when he's pressured down low in the defensive zone when he has the puck. But he's still a decent defensive prospect. He's still a middle six, probably a bottom pairing right-handed defenseman in the NHL. And that's nothing to shake your head at. I mean, there's lots of teams who would kill for a guy who could legitimately play good minutes in their bottom six, plus generate a bit of offense and, maybe quarterback a second power play unit. Because if you look at Justin Barron's goals per games played, he was the best on the Montreal Canadiens roster last year. He played fewer games and he put up really good goals when he played those games. So he's not anything to just throw away. And I think for Justin Barron, the biggest thing in his favor for playing more games in the NHL next season, and I'm not saying he should play more games in the NHL next season, it comes down to, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, is where do you think Montreal is at in their rebuild, and how do they want to approach this roster this season coming up? Is it just based on merit alone? Do you just give, if Logan Mailloux comes in and he plays better, does he get that spot regardless of anything else? Which I think there's a good possibility, a really good possibility, that Logan Mailloux comes in and does outplay Justin Barron. But Justin Barron is not waiver eligible. And Logan Mailloux is. And we might not want to move away from Logan Mailloux, but we could possibly want to move away in the future, in the next little while, from Justin Barron. So if you really don't like Justin Barron, you really want to move away from him, your best bet is actually that he makes the NHL next season, generates some value, and then we move away from him in a positive direction because we get a return assets for him, and then Logan Mailloux comes on up. Who's the better player right now? Even it's probably Logan Mailloux. So, I mean, at the end of the day, if that's all they're worried about is like you earn your spot and you got your spot, then I think Logan Mailloux gets it, and Justin Barron's probably claimed on waivers from who knows where. Maybe he ends up in Ottawa or Toronto or somewhere you don't want him to end up, but that could happen. But at the end of the day, it depends on where the organization feels they're at, and I don't know that answer. But to me, it's a good question to ask.
You gotta admit, though, it'd be a shitty way to lose Justin Barron through waivers. Like I know he's young, man. He's very young. I know there's a lot of people that have given up on him. And I mean, last year during the game reviews, I was ripping him. This year during the game reviews, I'm be just ripping him. I don't know. But I'm still not ready to give up on him just yet because of his age. And I mean, obviously he was drafted pretty high for a reason. And some defensemen, they take a little bit longer.
The other thing to remember with Justin Barron that gives him an extra chance, I think, an extra strike over a lot of players, is that Ken Hughes traded for him and traded Arturi Lehkonen to get him.
Yeah.
And I know that shouldn't matter, and maybe it shouldn't matter, but at the end of the day, they have ownership of Justin Barron. And if they are going to get rid of him, I think they're going to want a return for him. And they're not going to give him up for beans, given that they gave up a guy who went on to win the Stanley Cup and score a Stanley Cup clinching and a conference final clinching goal for the Colorado Avalanche. There's a lot of talk about that trade being the worst of Ken Hughes' tenure so far. So they hear that, I think, and maybe even if they don't hear it, he's a smart enough hockey mind to realize that that's what happened. And he's going to want to get a return for Justin Barron if he moves away from him. So I think that gives Justin Barron a get out of jail free card. It gives him an extra little shot, whether it should or not. I think it does. So it's something to consider.
That's a good point. It's a good point. I know. Next question is from Mackenzie Lowe. And I like this question. He says, if Kirby Dach has another injury-riddled season, would you consider him to be a Busteroni? Just like on a friggin' can of Shift Boy RD. But listen, Kirby Dach, man, I don't know if he does have another injury-riddled season. In my opinion, it's time for the Canadiens to start thinking about some way of getting another top six center. You know what I mean? Like that's scary, man. If he goes down this season, let's say he misses 50 games, 50. There's no way you can be comfortable with this guy going forward, especially when you're trying to build a contender, man. You can't. You can't be. Look at all the injuries he's had.
You're 100% right.
Yeah, like his point production this season is like usually the point production means the most, but in my opinion, like the games played outweighs the point production this season.
Well, I mean, if he plays a full 82, his point production will be there. He'll hit career.
Yeah,
I think
it's going to go up. Yeah,
100%. But it's a fair question. I don't think you'll consider him a Busteroni, maybe, but I think if you're the Montreal Canadiens, you have to start making plans that this guy is not going to be it for you. And it seemed like a couple of years ago, we had Suzuki, you had Kakanyemi, you had, whoever else down the middle, and the centerpiece looked like it was maybe clued up a little bit. And then that kind of phase moved away, and we had this new reinventation of the Montreal Canadiens, and Kirby Dach was a big piece of that. And
yeah,
I think we had some security in Kirby Dach up the middle. I think I had faith that he was going to develop into what Ken Hughes thought he was going to be. We had a 6'3", 6'4" centerman who could play and be your second line center. There was some talk at the beginning of last season, after the preseason, that Kirby Dach had. He could have been challenging Nick Suzuki for the first line center role. There was some talk about that. So I won't say overly confident. I was more concerned about what was going to happen on the wings, where we were going to get the elite offensive talent. That was my bigger concern. And then we drafted Demidov, And that concern eased a little bit. And now for me as a Montreal Canadiens fan, a big Montreal Canadiens fan, is that Kirby Dach, his next season, and this question is amazing because it hits at the root of it, is if he doesn't pan out, that center position is thrown into a complete question mark.
Oh man, indeed it is. And like
A complete question mark.
Look at Alex Newhook. No,
even
Alex Newhook don't do it.
No, there's no one else in our organization right now who could even come close, unless Ivan Demidov decides he's going to play center.
Yeah.
Even come close to whiffing at a legit second line centerman in the NHL. There's no one else right now.
Unless somebody overachieves like massively.
Like Becker Michar or that's an overachievement.
Yeah,
I mean,
I can see him.
Philip
Deneau
Philip Deneau was a first line center for a long time, so it could happen. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like we talked about goaltending before, and someone say, "Well, you don't have to have a good goaltender; you just got to have a goaltender that plays good." Fair enough, but I'd rather have a good goaltender that I can rely on than having to rely on, I don't know, some random dude just catching on fire at the right time. And I don't want to have to rely on that. Like right now, Suzuki is money in the bank. I think Caulfield, Slafkovsky is money in the bank. I think Demidov is money in the bank. I think outside of that, you can build around the rest of your top six, and you can take swings at wingers. But taking swings at centermen, they're not easy to find. We're getting back to Mark Bergevin days.
Ask Mark Bergevin.
Can't trade for centermen. Yeah, right? So, so Kirby Dach being healthy and staying healthy is huge. And I think that he will. Like, don't get me wrong. I have faith in Kirby Dach. I have faith that he will turn around. This injury is not something that had plagued him before. It's a freak injury. His wrist was the bigger issue before, upper body stuff. This is lower body injury. There's no reason that he won't recover from it and become the player that we all hope he's going to be. But if he doesn't, that's a question mark that Ken Hughes is going to have to address moving forward.
Bingo. Next question is from Kaiden Wasson, and he's wondering how many years would it take for Montreal to become cup contenders with their young core? It's not a good question. I'm feeling like I don't think it's going to be this year. I don't even think it's going to be next year. I think it's going to be like 2027 sounds like a good year to be. You know what I mean? Not like guaranteed. I think they're going to be in the playoffs by then. By like 27, 28, they'll be like good contenders, I feel like. That gives Ivan Demidov a couple seasons to get his feet wet. Slafkovsky's going to be just chugging along. Where's Reinbacher going to be? We haven't even spoken about Reinbacher yet this video. Reinbacher's going to be in there. The D-core will be officially filled out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's still under contract. Yeah, I think you're saying contender. I agree. I think Montreal will be a legitimate team in the NHL, not this season and not next season, but after next season. So this is 24-25, 25-26. Yeah, so I think in 2026, when that season starts into 2027, I agree. They will be
Stanley Cup 2027.
Unquestionably, yeah. So I agree 100%. I think they will be unquestionably a playoff team. I think the defense core will, after kind of figuring things out, whatever they're going to go. And I'm hoping, I think as any Montreal fan should be hoping, is that not only will they have figured out the guys who are going to be here, but they're going to get a return on the guys who aren't going to be here. And I think this next off season is pivotal in that regard. It's that they have assets now. Like Hughes and Gordon have done a really good job of building assets. It's can they take those assets they did a really good job of building, and even the assets that Mark Bergevin built, can they take those assets and can they turn that into a roster going forward? That's this is the pivotal time in the roster construction right now. Is that, do they make the right decisions with these guys? Do they make the right decision with these assets? Or do they make a scatter mistake? Do they let this guy go for not enough? Did they take a risk that doesn't pay off? Did they bring in a veteran that doesn't produce? Like Ottawa has done. And, did they make those mistakes, or did they stay the course and hold on to their assets for the right duration of time and move them at the right time? That's the big question for me. And if they do that, then I think, not next season, but next season, they're going to be a playoff team, and then the sky's the limit. Like, this team has so much potential. We've been talking about forever. You look at their D, look at their forwards, Ivan Demidov, Cole Caulfield, Lane Hutson, David Reinbacher. There's so much talent. There's more talent in this roster pool right now than the Montreal Canadiens have had in decades, and we're not exaggerating that.
No, I agree. 2027.
Boom.
That's the year, man.
All right,
2027. 2027, Suzuki's going to be passing the cup off to Corey Perry first. Next up, this one's from Bayboy. And he's wondering, do you think Montreal will buy out Demidov's contract from the KHL team to get him over here this year, since he's not extending in the KHL? They will play him less and hurt his development. That's the concern that I have, man. Like,
it is.
I don't think it's going to, I don't know about hurt his development. Well, I guess if he's not playing at all, like, it all depends on what playing less means. Like, I don't see him getting big minutes in the KHL. I don't personally. I don't think the Canadiens are going to try and buy him out and get him over unless, it's a worst case Ontario type thing. But I think that's what it would take.
If he plays in the KHL, he stays in the KHL for the season. I'm hoping worst case scenario, that means third line minutes. Like, worst case scenario, third line minutes. Yeah. And it'd be hard to justify if they're keeping him there and you're that coach and you got that talent on your bench. I know there's politics playing a role and everything else, but, like, if you got a guy who can play that kind of hockey and can help you win hockey games, and I think Ivan Demidov tips the scale that way. I know, like, Alexei Yemlin spent an extra year in the KHL or two, and they knew he was leaving, and he played like 6 minutes a game. Like, it was abhorrent what they did with Alexei Yemlin when he was there, and they didn't give him the opportunity. But at the end of the day, Yemlin wasn't a needle mover on the back end. You know what I mean? Like, he was a good defenseman in the KHL. He was an okay defenseman in the NHL, but he wasn't, a Norris Trophy winner. He wasn't whatever the equivalent of a Norris Trophy winner in the KHL is.
They beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, they did. But Ivan Demidov, regardless of what league he plays in, he is going to be a needle mover. So if you're a coach and you're sitting on the bench and you got an opportunity to win a hockey game, or you're going to have not to win a hockey, and has the skill, I think, to make sure, or to do that. Like, he is a difference maker. So I think that it's hard to sit that guy out. You got a shootout, for instance, and you got a guy who can pull those kind of moves off, and you got, I don't know, friggin' Jake Evans on your bench. Who are you going to play? You're going to win. You're going to want to win, and he makes you the best opportunity to win. So I think if he's on the roster, he will play. It's a no-brainer, right? So I think if he's there and he is doing what he's supposed to do, then he will play. And if not, he'll get sent down to a lower league. And I think if that happens, he will be in Montreal. I think if he doesn't play in the KHL next season, based on Kent Hughes' comments that I've heard, I don't think it'll be a discussion. I think within a month of him not being in the KHL, he'll be in the NHL, or he'll be in North America at least.
Jeff Gordon, man. Bringing the pain.
Yeah.
I can see it happening.
Don't fuck with Jeff Gordon.
No, you don't. You never do. The next question is from the casual cheesehead. And it kind of ties into the last question. We're going to make it tie into the last question. He's the casual cheesehead. Who will be Montreal's main superstar in our 2029 Cup run? Ivan Demidov, for me. I don't even know what's going to happen between now and then, but I'm going to say Ivan Demidov is.
He'll be our only superstar.
Yeah, he's going to be a beast, 100%. Next up is from Andius Augustus, and he wants to request a chin wag about Joshua Wawa. So it seems like everybody's forgetting about him in the most recent news. Do we still think Wawa has potential to be a top 6 forward? We already talked about that a little bit here.
We did. Yep.
But yeah, definitely, eh?
I think so. I think Joshua Wawa is going to be he's going to be a middle 6 forward regardless. And I think that if the right combination of line mates come along, he could easily play in any NHL top 6. He could be that guy. He could be our look at all the wingers that Crosby had over the years, who were like nobody and became. Chris Kunitz comes to mind. No offense, Chris Kunitz. Cody Glass is another guy, right? Just like came in and just became wingers. I think Joshua Wawa has that ability. He's sound on the defensive side. He's sound on the offensive side. He's got offensive talent, but he can play the game any way you need to play it. And he's proved at every level that when you underestimate him, he can rise to the occasion and he can surprise you. He's a French Canadian in Montreal who by the look of it, is not shy about that at all. And that will give him an extra opportunity. And I think he'll rise to it. And so I think Joshua Wawa will be a middle 6 forward for Montreal Canadiens when they win a Stanley Cup in the next 10 years.
That's good though. That'd be wicked, man. That'd be a really good draft pick, like a really good story, right?
Oh, it's a fantastic draft pick. We've talked about Joshua Wawa multiple times, but that story about him getting drafted and him getting kind of lowball because of his attitude and getting traded, then moving up. And since the Montreal Canadiens drafted Joshua Waugh, he has got better every single season. He's risen to every occasion and answered every criticism. And gold medal for Team Canada a couple of years ago or a year ago or whatever that was, just kind of put the share on the cake for me. I think he is an NHL player and he's going to be an impact NHL player. He's not going to be a superstar, but he will be a legitimate NHL middle 6 forward for a generation.
You got to love it. King Steady is wondering, will we see a 100-point player this year? Honestly, Mario Armia is our only hope. Nobody else even comes close. What do you think? 100-point player besides Mario Armia? Like him aside?
Him aside, no, not this year. I think this is my prediction, though, and I'll make this. It's no good for the beer bet of the week because it's going to take a whole season. But I'll put a half case of beer on this bet. We will, for the first time in I don't know how long, we will have a point per game player this season.
Ooh.
Yeah, we will have one player who gets 82 points this season. I don't know if it's going to be Suzuki or Caulfield or it's not going to be Slafkovsky, but probably Suzuki, but I'm not going to put my limits on that. But we will have a point per game player this season coming up. And I will put, I'm going to put a dozen beer on that right now. Here we go. Done. Just
because it's so easy to gamble with, man.
Why not? Done. Why not?
I am Wonder Phil. This is Phil. He's wondering how united are the Atlantic peoples of Canada in their hockey support for one team or another. Is language an important factor? And do you have a list of Newfie jokes to share with us?
All right. So Atlantic Canada is not at all united in their love for hockey. Everyone loves hockey. Everyone loves a different team. Newfoundland is split mostly down the middle, Matt?
Yeah, I'd say so too.
Some Boston fans. I'd say it's like 40-40 Montreal, Toronto.
Yeah.
And then probably 10% Boston. And then the other 10% is split up among
stragglers.
Yeah. Nobody cheers for New York, oddly enough. That's the only original 16 doesn't get any love, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, because there's a few Chicago fans.
Bruins fans.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine had a theory on that. Actually, it was like, all right, in Montreal, Toronto, obviously, we're Canadian, original 6. Boston had Bobby Orr. Chicago had Stan Mikita. And, Boston was Boston. But New York had nobody, no real Canadian superstar back in the day. And that's why they don't have any fans right now in Newfoundland.
That was the
theory. Yeah, it makes sense.
That's a good theory, man. I like it. We'll go with that.
What was the other part of that question?
Newfie jokes.
Newfie joke. Yeah. I don't think we want to go there. I get some
They're
good
not-
news, Joe.
Not safe for work. Not safe for work. How many more
Not
questions we do?
internet-friendly. Yeah.
How many more questions you want to do?
I don't know. We'll do a couple more, and then we'll talk about maybe, I don't know, what else.
We'll do. Let's take 2 more, eh?
2 more.
All right. Let me see. Let me pick a good one. Let me see. Predictions on Lane Hutson's season points. We're gonna assume that he means if he plays in Montreal. If he plays in Montreal this season, how many points is Lane Hutson going to get? That's from Intermission 19.
Me, you, me.
You can take this one. You can go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. My God, I've had this conversation with so many Habs fans in the last little while, and it's like I'm so torn on Lane Hutson. To me, this management group makes this decision so hard to make. He could easily, because they've shown that they're willing to give rookies an opportunity. He could easily make the roster out of camp. And if he makes the roster out of camp and plays a full 82 games, the point total for Lane Hutson, to me, is somewhere in the 40s, like 42. I think he's definitely like a point every second game type of defenseman. I think, like, if he plays, he's going to play in the top 4. He's going to play power play. He's going to play. Like, they're not going to have him up there playing bottom pairing minutes. It's Lane Hutson.
No.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if he plays a full season, he's good for half a point a game. So I think for the purpose of keeping everything even, I will say that Lane Hutson is going to put up a half a point per game in the NHL next season, regardless how many games he plays. So if he plays 20, he's going to put up 10 points. If he plays 40 games, he's going to put up 20 points. When he comes in, I don't know. He could start the season in Montreal, and he could play almost the entire season in the AHL until, you know, things come around at the trade deadline. He can get pumped back up. That wouldn't surprise me either. So I have no idea when Lane Hutson is going to make the NHL next season, but he'll be half a point a game when he does.
I like that. That's pretty good. I'm going to say if he plays 82 games in the NHL next season, he's going to get 37 points. That's pretty exact. and if he plays 40 games, he's going to get 27. There's going to be a 7 in there. I'm doing this just like I got tarot cards going. Freaky shit, man.
That's fair.
All right,
though. I look at even that. That's fair.
This is going to be the last question now.
Okay,
For
go.
now, we might take some more again sometime soon. This one's from Chamby Sheep. Sheep. How many seasons until Montreal are top 10 in the league? So it's different because he's not talking about a Stanley Cup or, playoffs. He's talking about just a top 10 team in the league.
Same though.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same time zone. I don't think it's going to be this season. I don't think it's going to be next season. But then after that, like, it's going to start. I could see him being a, top 10.
Yeah,
top 10.
27, 28.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
I think so.
That's what
we're
we're
going to do
going
another one. Is this the same answers? I think that's the same answer as Stanley Cup.
Is it? All right, fine. I'll do it.
I think it is.
Okay, again.
Because if you're top 10 in the league, then you're a Stanley Cup contender.
That's right.
It is right.
Okay, this guy wants, this is Arber Xhekaj. Prediction on number of goals and total points for the following players. We're going to do these rapid fire. I'll do one, you do one, okay?
Okay.
Goals and total points for Slafkovsky. I'm going to say 62 points, 22 goals. What about Cole Caulfield? You're up next. You're on the clock.
40 points. Oh, sorry, 40 goals.
Holy shit.
40 goals, 65 points.
Okay, Nick Suzuki's next. I'm going to say 82 points and maybe 30 goals. Lane Hutson's next.
No, Kirby Dach.
Oh, yeah, Kirby's next. Okay. Fine.
Kirby Dach. He's going to play 2 games. No, we're basing this on full season. Kirby Dach goes 50 points, 25 goals.
Okay. Lane Hutson's next. I already said. Oh, never mind. I'm going to say 37 points, 8 goals. Wawa's up next.
Wawa is going to go 15 and 20 for 35 points.
Okay. Next up is Alex Newhook. I'm going to say 35 points, 10 goals. Next up is Mario, Gary. Don't upset me or I'll end this podcast right now.
You should have done Mario. I'm going to say 10 and 20. So, 30 points, but 10 goals.
Okay, the podcast is over. I'm just kidding.
30 points? That's a good season, Mario.
Arber Xhekaj. I'm going to say 24 points. No. I'm going to say 20 points. 100 penalty minutes. Maybe 8 goals. Mike Matheson.
I think Mike Matheson is going to... What was his totals from last season? I know he had put up a whale of the season. I can't think of it right now.
63 points or something?
Yeah, I think he comes in at around 50 points. I think it's more like 18 goals.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm going to go. Josh Anderson is up next. I'm going to say 35 points. I think he's going to score like 18 goals next season and just freak everybody out.
Yeah, fair enough, man.
Which wouldn't be bad. That wouldn't be bad.
Wouldn't be bad at all. That'd be
you'd like
solid.
To see him get
actually.
more, but
I'd love to see him hit 60-point though.
Oh yeah, that'd be sick. That's
well
it.
Done.
That's it for the questions.
All right, we will get some more on the next go round.
Yeah, man, we'll do it again. We're over an hour now.
Yeah,
it's quite.
It's more. People are just sick of hearing from us.
Anything else you wanted to talk about?
I don't know, man. I your hairdo, maybe. I don't know. What can we talk about?
Oh yeah, I know, man. The hair is caught. Jeez, I'm telling you, like it happens like once a year.
Yeah.
Sometimes it goes a little longer, but I'll just come home one day and the wife will be like, "Yeah, you got a hair appointment at like 2:00 tomorrow." I'm like, what
if you don't go, don't come home.
Yeah, man, I know. And I'm like, no. That's usually how it works out, though. It's always a touchy subject at the house.
No, man, I think we did a good job on this whole thing. I think that we miss you guys. And the summertime is a little bit, it's hard to get together, but we've been following the Habs, and I know you've been following the Habs. And I mean, from Hockey Junkie and GK.
Well, see you next time.